Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in good spirits wherever you are in the world. Today it is June 16th, 2020, where I am in Tokyo, Japan. It's the morning here, and the Criterion Collection has just made its announcement for its planned releases for September 2020. Before I begin, let me say that I must apologize in advance because, as always, my presentation skills are very poor, and so I'm just going to be showing you the images as they are projected off of my computer screen. So it's nothing fancy. It's very low tech, and I apologize for that. And this is also my way of recommending to you that if you want to find high resolution images, and if you want to get more write-up information about the technical details, specifications, write-ups about the stories, the plot, and other matters of that sort, then of course I recommend that you check out the Criterion Collection website directly for more information of that sort. So once again, I apologize in advance, but I hope you can forgive me. And with that, let us proceed with this video. And first up is scheduled for release on September 8th, 2020. And it's right here. This is the film, Jules Dassin film, Brute Force. Now, we should be clear here because this actually is a film that currently is in the Criterion Collection right now. This is at spine number 383. The DVD is right here. And so what we're going to have in September is we're going to have a new Blu-ray of this particular film from 1947. And for the most part, we are going to, well, and also I should mention that this is, if you haven't seen this film, it is a very excellent crime drama, and also a prison drama. And so we have and if you like the works of Jules Dassin, and if you haven't seen this, then I hope that the Blu-ray in September is it will be an opportunity for everyone to catch up with this work. Again, a very exciting release. So this is Brute Force, and we should be absolutely clear here. So it looks like the Blu-ray and the DVD, so the new Blu-ray and the current DVD, more or less will be similar, except for a couple of key differences. So let's just see what the Criterion website says. So the first thing is that this, for the Blu-ray, it looks like it's going to be the new 4K digital restoration of the film. And now we should be clear once again, the DVD is not relying on a 4K restoration. It is described to be a high-definition digital transfer for the DVD, and then the 4K restoration will be relied on for the Blu-ray. And so we should keep that in mind when we get the Blu-ray and see if there are any noticeable differences in terms of picture quality and the like. And I think related to that, the aspect ratio for the DVD, the current DVD, is indicated as being 1.33 to 1, whereas the Blu-ray release aspect ratio described by Criterion is described as being 1.37 to 1. And then continuing on, there is going to be the audio commentary from 2007. And so the audio commentary is also found on the DVD, so that it's wonderful. And then there's going to be an interview with Paul Mason. And this interview is talking about this film, and so the interview will also be the interview is also on the DVD, so that's something that is going to be carried over from the DVD, so that's also very good. And then there is a trailer, and then a stills gallery. Okay, so the stills gallery and the trailer will be are things that are here in the DVD and the stills gallery as well. You know, when we get the Blu-ray, we're going to have to check the stills gallery to be sure that all the stills that were on the DVD are there, and vice versa. It's because sometimes the stills galleries can be the same, sometimes they can be different. And then there is an essay by Michael Atkinson and rare correspondence between Mark Hellinger and Joseph Breen. And so it looks like that's going to be the same as the booklet, which is found here. So for the most part, we're getting the same supplements, and the presentation of the film, of course, is different to account for the reliance on the 4K digital restoration for the upcoming Blu-ray. However, according to Criterion's site, there is one feature that looks like it will be Blu-ray only. And this is called, it's programmed from 2017 on Brute Force's Array of Acting Styles, featuring film scholar David Bordwell. Now, once again, this Bordwell video essay is not to be found on this DVD as far as I can tell. So that will be a new supplement. And David Bordwell is a very famous figure in film studies, and he's a film studies expert and academic and historian, and so he appears quite frequently on a number of other Criterion releases in supplements, and so it'll be great to have David Bordwell's video essay in the new Blu-ray. I'm looking forward to that very much. So with that, my friends, this is a new Blu-ray of a currently existing Criterion DVD. So this is going to be spine number 383 for the film Brute Force. Next, this is also scheduled for release September 8th, 2020, and this is also a film by Jules Dassin, and this is also a film that is currently in the Criterion collection as a DVD. So we're getting a new Blu-ray of a currently existing Criterion title, which is at spine number 380 from 1948, and this is Jules Dassin's film The Naked City. Now we have the entry that is on the Criterion website right now here, and then we have the DVD in my hands right here. So it looks like the artwork will be carried over, and so we're going to get same or very, very similar artwork. And also we are getting this Jules Dassin film on Blu-ray. And if you haven't seen this film by Jules Dassin, then again, hopefully the Criterion Blu-ray in September will be a wonderful opportunity for you to catch up with this. And we have of course, at the center of this, we have the city, New York, and so it is yet a brilliant example of the filmmaking prowess of Jules Dassin. And so if you haven't seen this, once again, I hope that the Blu-ray provides a great opportunity for to be able to catch up with it, because this is really worth checking out if you haven't already. So this is The Naked City. And about the Blu-ray, or the new Blu-ray release of this in September. Now, it looks like the Blu-ray, right, will be relying on, once again, a new 4K digital restoration of the film. So we're going to get a presentation based off of the new 4K digital restoration of the film for the new Blu-ray. The current DVD is described as being a high-definition digital transfer, so it looks like the transfers will be different. And so when we get the Blu-ray, once again, like with Brute Force, we will have to look at that and see what the differences are between the DVD and the Blu-ray presentations, etc. And so that's something to look forward to. The other features that are found on this DVD look to be the same, and they look to be ones that will be carried over into the Blu-ray. So, for example, we have an audio commentary track from 1996, Malvin Wald, and then we have an interview in 2006 with film scholar Dana Polin, and then we have interview from 2006 with author James Sanders on the film's New York locations, and then footage of director Dassin from a 2004 appearance at Los Angeles County Museum of Art. So far it looks like all the features that are described on the Criterion website are those which we can already find on the current DVD. So that includes the commentary track, and that includes the interview and also analysis, and then the footage. And then to round that off, we have the stills gallery as well. So the stills gallery seems to be carried over. Once again, we'll have to see exactly if all the stills are the same, or there might be one or two differences, who knows. But for the most part, the stills gallery looks to be being carried over. And then to round it off, we have the essay by author and critic Luc Sand and production notes from producer Mark Hellinger to Dassin, and it looks like that is consistent with the current DVD, and so that's what we have for the booklet. So we're going to have to take a look at that as well. But once again, this is going to be a Blu-ray that is of a current DVD release, which is at spine number 380, and this is from 1948, Jules Dassin's work called The Naked City. Next, this is scheduled for release on September 15th, 2020, and this is scheduled for spine number 1042, and this is from 1999 from France, from the filmmaker Claire Denis, and this is the film BEAU. So I must admit that I was not expecting this announcement from Criterion at all. I'd always the film is a very unforgettable work. It is so filled with a lot of tension and a lot of imagery, and there is a very pointed story that is incredibly engaging. It's one of the most highly regarded works of the filmography, of the great filmography of Claire Denis, of course, and it's very, very famous. And so the film actually is one that I have on DVD already, which is this Zone 2 DVD right here, Artificial Eye. And so this is one that I've really watched a lot, and I've watched it over the years, and it's one that it's very hypnotic and quite visually and emotionally arresting. And so it's one that I've always considered, it would be great to be in the Criterion collection, but I never thought about it because I never really heard anything about it, at least I didn't. And so when this announcement came up, I was so pleasantly surprised by this. And so this is the Claire Denis film, Beau Travail, and I am, once again, I am very, very pleased with this, because this is a kind of important work. It is in many ways, it's a landmark work in not only Claire Denis' filmography, but also in the context of sort of modern French cinema. And so it's really wonderful to have this, and I think it's a film that hopefully with the Criterion release, this will give again more opportunity for more people to catch up with it and to try to engage with it and to see what it is about and what it has to offer, because it's a really unforgettable work. So I'm very pleased and very pleasantly surprised that this is going to be emerging in the Criterion collection, as it will be in September. Again, September 15th, 2020 at 1042. And so this is purported to be based off of the new 4K digital restoration supervised by director of photography Agnès Godard and approved by director Claire Denis, with uncompressed stereo soundtrack on the Blu-ray. So that's really great. So as I mentioned before, I have this, which is the DVD, the Artificial Eye DVD from the UK. And I must admit, I have no complaints about this directly in terms of the picture quality, etc. But again, I will be watching this new Criterion Blu-ray, and of course we will be comparing this. And I'm looking forward to this very much, the presentation here. And then there is a new conversation between Denis and filmmaker Barry Jenkins. Okay, so this seems to be a Criterion-produced supplement. We'll have to wait and see about that, but it looks like it will be. And so that's something to look forward to. And then there is a new selected scene commentary with director of photography Godard. And that's great. That is really great. It says new selected scene commentary, so we can assume that this won't be a full-length commentary track that will travel over the entirety of the film, but it will be with respect to a portion of the film. That's my assumption. But even so, a portion of a film commentary is better than no commentary at all. And it says new, so this is something that I haven't heard, and so I'm assuming this might also be a Criterion produced supplement. Who knows? Who knows? But in any event, this does say new, and this is a commentary, selected scene commentary track, of course, granted, but still better than nothing. And indeed, this is really great. So I'm very much looking forward to this one. And next, there is new interviews with actors Denis Lavant and Grégoire Collin. And this is, again, new, and these, again, the actors, and so, wow, this is really wonderful, absolutely great, again, new, so I'm assuming this will also be Criterion produced, and I haven't seen these as well, so this is going to be fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And then there is a new video essay, again, new, by film scholar Judith Main, and so, once again, this seems like we have yet another Criterion-produced new supplement for this film, plus new English subtitle translation, plus an essay by critic Girish Shambhu, and new cover by Michael Boland, which is indicated here on the website. So you can take a look at the website directly for this. But I admit that based off of these special edition features, which are described as being director-approved special edition features on the website, this looks like this is going to be a really fantastic release. This is going to be a fantastic release. You know, sometimes Criterion releases films, when we've seen this in the past, sometimes they release great films and they do the best with what they have, but sometimes one might feel, oh gosh, maybe it would have been nice if there were more supplements here or there or something like that. That kind of analysis goes into all of their releases, of course. But here we have the new, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 entries for supplements that are described as being new, plus the new English subtitle translation. But we have the 4 supplements that are described as being new, one of which is the interviews with the actors. And those might be divided into 2, or they might be in one supplement, who knows. But that could mean, therefore, the potential is that 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 new supplements. And then the reliance on the new 4K digital restoration as well. So this looks like this will be potentially a very phenomenal release from the Criterion collection, again, of a very important film from a very important filmmaker, Claire Denis. And this is absolutely splendid. Absolutely splendid. I am so thrilled with this. This is incredible. So anyway, this is, once again, Spine number 1042. The filmmaker is Claire Denis, and this is from France from 1999. The film is Beau Travail. Next, this is scheduled for release on September 22nd, 2020. This is for Spine number 1043 from Italy from 1979. The filmmaker is Francesco Rossi, and this is the film Christ Stopped at Eboli. Christ Stopped at Eboli, and this is purported to be 220 minutes. So, as some of you may know, this film, Christ Stopped at Eboli, has been it's been more or less made available. I don't know about now, but it's been more or less made available on home media since VHS. And I remember actually seeing it for the first time on VHS many, many years ago. And even back then, it was around, I want to say, 2 hours and 20 minutes or so, maybe 140, 150 minutes, something like that. And so that was the version that I had always seen. And so I don't know, I've never seen this longer version of this particular film. And so I'm looking forward to this very much. As I say, I've only seen this shorter version, what I understand to be a sort of a cut for a certain theatrical release. But again, this has usually been made available, my understanding is, through a shorter 2-hour plus cut. But now we're dealing with a 220-minute version that will be presented on Criterion Collection. And so this is a film that is, again, from 1979, and it's speaking to sort of a kind of past, historical past of a cinematic depiction of a historical past of Italy, but also it's speaking to themes of Italy's present. It deals with a lot of themes that are in sort of in tension with each other, let me put it that way, in a kind of beautiful tension with each other, that bring about many experiences and expressions and statements that speak to both a past and a present. They speak to this idea of fascism, and they also speak to this idea of an individualized sense of being free. And this is also rooted in what is traditional and what is modern. And this is also rooted in the countryside and the town and the people. And this is also rooted in a sense of geography. There's a particular importance with respect to south and north, and all these integral aspects that, as I say, are relevant to not just a current present, 1970s Italy, but also to the past, and everything becomes related that way. And so this becomes a real document, if you will, and a wonderful statement, and a wonderfully visual statement from Rossi. And so this is Christ Stopped at Eboli. And so I'm very surprised by this, and I'm so thrilled by this. Once again, Criterion Collection. I'm very pleasantly surprised. I'm very pleasantly surprised by this. Now, this, as I say, is a 220-minute version, and I'm going to be seeing this for the first time. This version, it will be the one I'll be seeing for the first time. So, I cannot wait for this. I cannot express to you enough just how excited I am about this. My goodness. So anyway, so this is, 220 minutes. So what does the Criterion Collection have to offer here? So it says new 2K digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack on the Blu-ray. Okay. And then this has new introduction by translator and author Michael F. Moore. Then there is a documentary from 1978 on the Italian political cinema. Oh, that's great. And then there's an excerpt from a 1974 documentary featuring Rossi and author Carlo Levi. And then there is an excerpt from Marco Spagnoli's short 2014 documentary Unico, in which Rossi discusses Volonté, the star Volonté. And then a trailer and new English subtitle translation by Moore, plus a booklet featuring an essay by scholar Alexander Stille and a 1979 director's statement by Rossi. And new cover, which is right here, by Katya Mechibotskaya. So there we go. We have a lot here. Now, perhaps I should mention that this looks like this will be one cut of the film, so 220 minutes. So for anyone who might be interested in watching the film in its shorter version, the 2-hour plus version that I was referring to, it looks like Criterion won't be including that particular version together with this. And again, I can only speculate as to why that is, but for whatever reason, again, according to the Criterion website, we are only getting, I put that in air quotes because that is a lot. We're getting a lot here, but my point is that we are getting one version, apparently, which is the longer 220-minute version, and we're not getting the shorter version. So if anyone is interested when this film comes out, And if you can track down a version of the shorter version of this in a reasonable way, that you don't have to spend too much money, then that might be worth checking out. And so anyway, so this is really great. So this is Christ Stopped at EBOLI. Wonderful, really wonderful release from Criterion. This is going to be fantastic. Really fantastic. Okay, so this is scheduled for September 22nd, 2020. 220 minutes, 1.33 to 1 aspect ratio. Spine number 1043. Christ Stopped at EBOLI. Next, this is scheduled for release September 29th, 2020, and this is a set. This is a set whose spine number is going to be 1044. And this will have films in it, which will also have their own spine numbers as well. That's my understanding. And so the whole entire set is given spine number 1044, but it will have a number of films, and I'll talk about those very briefly. And it's this, which is Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project number 3. Number 3. And what are the films that we're going to get in this set? Now, I look at this list, and we have Lucia from 1968. This is a Cuban film from the filmmaker Humberto Solás. And then we have After the Curfew, which is Indonesian film, Usmar Ismail from 1954. And then we have Hector Babenco. This is the film Pixote from 1981. And this is a film set in Brazil. And then we have a film from 1934, Dos Monjes, Mexico. And this is from, this is great. This is Juan Bustillo Oro, the director. And I was just speaking about Mexican cinema and the cinema of Oro with a viewer. So this is Dos Monjes, Dos Monjes, excuse me, from 1934. And then we have Med Ondo, the filmmaker Med Ondo, and his film from 1970, Soleil. And then we have Bahram Beyze and his film from 1972, Downpour. This is an Iranian filmmaker. And Med Ondo is a Mauritanian filmmaker. So we have all these films, and we have not only these films, but we have a number of special features, and I'll get to those in a moment. But this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. My mind is already just exhausted from all the excitement. I mean, we've had so much great stuff, not just in September, but also in previous announcements, and it's just going to get better and better and better. And even within this announcement group for the planned releases for September, we're getting so many great things already. I mentioned before, Christ Stopped at EBOLI. We're getting BEAU, TRAVAIL, but now we're getting this as well. A third World Cinema Project set, number 3. I'm just stunned. I'm absolutely stunned. I have expressed this a number of times before, that I am a huge, huge fan of the World Cinema Project releases. I think they are the best. They are among the best of anything Criterion has ever released. We've had the first set here, number 1, which is right here. And then we have the second set here, which is number 2 right here. Now we're getting the third one. I do admit that I think this had been rumored. The rumors had been around for a while, and so this doesn't come as a complete surprise, although I was always wondering if this would arrive, and indeed it has arrived, and just fantastic. And it is a Blu-ray DVD combo, and so that is very interesting, because as you know, the past boxes were these dual format editions, which means they had the Blu-ray and DVD formats combined into one release. And it looks like, according to Criterion's website, we are getting what they call Blu-ray DVD combo. Okay, that's interesting. They don't call it dual format, but they call it Blu-ray DVD combo. So I am assuming that the World Cinema Project #3 will be in a similar dual format edition. Whether it's called dual format when we see the box, we're gonna have to check that out. But for now, it looks like the website's calling it Blu-ray/DVD combo. And so that is very interesting too, right? Because as some of you may know, the trend in Criterion has been to slowly phase out the dual format editions in favor of a Blu-ray only edition for many of its previous dual format releases. And I think a lot of people were wondering too whether that would be the case for the World Cinema Project. Well, it looks like Criterion will seem to be sticking with Blu-ray DVD combo. So that's really great. And we'll have to see how the packaging is and how that's actually described, etc. But that's something to keep in mind in terms of the formatting, and we'll have to keep that in mind. And then just as for the films themselves, as I mentioned, we have the first film is Soleil's film, Lucia, and 1968. And this is a very visually poetic, dynamic work that is dealing with history and time, and it is very infused into the very historical fabric of Cuba. And so this is fantastic. I'm just so thrilled that this will be included. And then we have Usmar Ismail, After the Curfew. I remember I was just speaking the other day about, with a viewer, about Indonesian cinema. And so, this is so wonderful. So After the Curfew from 1950. Then we have the film from 1981 called Pixote, Babenco's work Pixote. And this is a very difficult, tough, challenging work, very raw, very unforgiving, unrelenting. And incredibly important. So, and then we have Dos Monjes from 1934, Juan Bustillo Oro, and I'm so happy about this too because I was just speaking the other day in the context of some comments with viewers about Mexican cinema, and the filmmaker Oro came up in our conversation. So this is what a wonderful bit of timing this is from Criterion. Great. And then Ahmed Ondo's work Soleil, and this is a very unique work, almost kind of experimental. It's very audacious, and it has a lot of style and substance. So again, wonderful inclusion. And then Bahram Beyzeh, who is a towering figure in Iranian cinema. And so this is his first film, 1972 Downpour. And I'm just stunned. I'm absolutely stunned by this. And what we have is not just these films, but we have the films in new restored 4K digital transfers for all the films by the World Cinema Project. And then we have introductions for the films from Martin Scorsese. And then we have new interviews featuring Downpour director Bahram Beyzeh and film scholars Charles Ramirez Berg on Dos Monjes and J.B. Cristanto on After the Curfew. And then excerpts from a 2016 interview with Pixote director Hector Babenco and a 2018 interview with Soleil director Ahmed Ondo. Then there is Umberto and Lucia, a 2020 documentary by Carlos Barba Salva featuring Lucia director Umberto Solas and members of his cast and crew. And then prologue created by Babenco for the U.S. release of Pixote. New English subtitle translations, 3 Blu-rays and 6 DVDs with all content available in both formats, and then plus a booklet featuring essays by critics and scholars and the like. And so here we have Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project, volume number 3. Once again, the films are Lucia and After the Curfew, Pixote, Dos Monjes, Soleil, and Downpour. So we are getting 6 films. I am so happy about this. I am I this is incredible. This is really incredible. This is going to be a set that is not inexpensive. I mean, these sets are not inexpensive. They can be, relatively speaking, a lot of money compared to other releases. But if possible, please consider getting these sets, if possible. Now, again, I'm going to be getting this set, and I'll be talking about it, and I'll try to talk about it with as much detail as possible on this channel. And it has been one of my great ambitions on this channel to try to go through each of the works in all of the World Cinema Project boxes. And so maybe one day, if the situation presents itself, maybe, who knows, maybe when this set in September arrives, that might be a good opportunity for me to go through the entire selection of the World Cinema Project sets that are offered by Criterion. So number 1, number 2, and then number 3. And because I do want to emphasize once again that these sets are among the best. They are among the best, and they are illuminating, enlightening. I learn new things all the time through these sets, and so I know that number 3 will be no exception to that, and therefore I am looking forward to this immensely. This could be one of the highlights of the year 2020 in terms of Criterion releases. It is that big in a year that we already have huge announcements. Of course we do. It's going to be it's already a fantastic year in terms of releases. It's going to be another fantastic year in terms of releases, and so this is up there in that conversation. It is that big. So this is World Cinema Project, Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project number 3. Again, the whole box is going to be given spine number 1044. This is scheduled for release on September 29th, 2020. So once again, Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project number 3. Last but not least, also scheduled for release September 29th, 2020. This is for spine number 1051 from 1980. And this is a film which is from the filmmaker David Lynch. This is the film The Elephant Man. Now, we know that The Elephant Man had been released, the 4K digital restoration, the new release was made in Europe. And we also know that David Lynch's films are very they appear a lot in the Criterion collection, and we have a number of his films, not all, but we have a number of his films already in the Criterion collection in great stellar releases. And the latest to join that line in Criterion collection in North America here is The Elephant Man. And once again, I admit to being totally caught off guard with this. I know perhaps people had been mentioning it, maybe on wish lists. Maybe it had been rumored and I didn't catch it. If so, that's on me. But in any event, my friends, we have another just. I'm just stunned. I'm exhausted. I'm already exhausted. I've been exhausted. I was exhausted at the start of this because of the excitement levels of this particular grouping of announcements, and then I was just further stunned, and then further stunned, and then further stunned, and then now we come to this release, The Elephant Man, and I don't know if I have enough energy to keep up. This is really a splendid, absolutely splendid. I'm I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say, but I'll do my best here. So this is, once again, the film from David Lynch, very, very early in his career. On one level, it's considered to be somewhat unique in the context of David Lynch's filmography in terms of a more or less traditional presentation of narrative, etc. But on the other hand, it does show many of the traits and highlights that have characterized David Lynch's career and his work as an artist. And therefore, we get a wonderful sense, another look at a different vantage point into the artistic expression of David Lynch. That's one way of putting it. Another way of putting it is that this is, in fact, a part of David Lynch's artistry in terms of the way in which he directs his camera and focuses on humanism and the humanism element of the characters. Because we do know from David Lynch's works that he does have a lot of care, and he gives his characters a lot of room to breathe and gives them a lot of room to grow. And he really loves and cares about his characters, and he wants to have them nourish in the cinematic world that he has created for them. And so in that sense, therefore, The Elephant Man is wholly consistent with the works of David Lynch. And with that in mind, it is such a lovely thing to have this film in the Criterion collection, to join the other David Lynch films that are already in the Criterion collection. And wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So, what do we have with this? We have, let's see, director-approved special edition features, which are a new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed stereo soundtrack on the Blu-ray, and then director David Lynch and critic Christine McKenna reading from Room to Dream, a 2018 book they co-authored. Archival interviews with Lynch, actor John Hurt, producers Mel Brooks and Jonathan Sanger, director of photography Freddie Francis, stills photographer Frank Connor, and makeup artist Christopher Tucker. Audio recording from 1981 of an interview and Q&A with Lynch at the AFI. The Terrible Elephant Man Revealed, a 2001 documentary about the film. Trailer and radio spots, English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, and then more exclamation point, which indicates that we will probably see other supplements included when the release hits the shelves in September. Plus a booklet featuring excerpts from an interview with Lynch from the 2005 edition of the filmmaker and writer Chris Rodley's book Lynch on Lynch, and an 1886 letter to the editor of the London Times concerning Joseph Merrick, The Elephant Man, by Francis Cullen Carr Gome, chairman of the London Hospital at the time, and a new cover by Sister Hyde. So there we go. There we go. So I am just absolutely floored. I am absolutely floored. I am stunned. Let me just note here before I forget the artwork. This is another great piece of artwork. You know, we saw this also with Eraserhead too. The idea of artwork that is, on the one hand, meant to suggest general artwork or poster artwork or other publicity art that's relatively well connected with the film itself, but also rendering it in a new and slightly different way. And so we saw that with Eraserhead's artwork for the Criterion release, and I think we're seeing something similar with the Elephant Man release here. So it's very, very well done. And just in general, as a fan of David Lynch, and as a fan of Criterion, to have this combo here in September, in a month that is already filled with a lot of wow moments, this is yet another of them. So well done, Criterion, for doing this, and I'm looking forward to this very much. So this is Spy number 1051, scheduled for release September 29th, 2020. The film is The Elephant Man. So, my dear friends, what do you think of this? I am sitting here now, and I am still trying to process what it is I've just seen. I'm really quite taken aback by this, and I don't know how you feel, and maybe you feel just the same as I do. Maybe you feel even stronger than I do. Maybe you don't feel as you don't have the same level of excitement, and that's fine either way, my friends, because as I say, film is a subjective journey, and we all go through our own personal cinematic journeys. But for me and my own cinematic journey, I must say that I say this a lot. I say that, you know, every month it's the best, it's the greatest month. So I mean, I don't say the greatest month, but I say it's such a great month. And how can Criterion top themselves? Well, it looks like they've done so. I mean, we're getting so many box sets later in the year, Bruce Lee, or collector sets, Bruce Lee, the monumental Varda set, of course. But now we get September, and I'm, as I say, I'm stunned. Not only do we get those Dassin works, we get the which are already great DVDs at the moment, but we're going to get those on Blu-ray. We're also going to get Claire Denis, Beau Travail, and we're going to get Christ Stopped at Eboli, 220 minutes worth of Christ Stopped at Eboli. And then we get The Elephant Man, of course, which I just mentioned, David Lynch. And then what has to be one of the great treasure troves of Criterion, the World Cinema Project releases. We have number 1 and number 2. Now we're getting number 3, so we're getting yet another treasure trove. I think that's the one for me. Again, all they are great, but I think the one that really stands out to me is the World Cinema Project number 3 set. And the fact that they're also going to be releasing it in a Blu-ray DVD combo, that's very interesting as well. So that seems also to be, in a kind of interesting way, maybe a little statement that Criterion is trying to make with regard to physical media. I don't know. But in any event, what a statement they're making, not just with that release, but with the entire release schedule for September 2020. I am over the moon. I cannot begin to explain or express to you enough just how excited I am for this. This is I'm stunned. I'm absolutely taken aback by this. Now, I should say perhaps that is this can we is this a release schedule that will please everyone? Probably not. And maybe some people might seem a little bit disappointed or underwhelmed. And I think that's a perfectly valid reaction to have. And I should really address this too, because Criterion is just one company, and Criterion is just Criterion can only release so many titles in a month, so it can't release everything. And so, but I think it is trying to do the best it can. And I think based off of this release slate, based off of this, what it's trying to do in September, I think it's really bold and it's grand and it's inventive and it's quite ambitious. And I really feel that way. But we also have to remember that cinema is a vast ocean, and so this is just one small section of cinema that's being represented here. But and we have to acknowledge too that Criterion also acknowledges its own limitations, and it's trying to do its best, of course. But it does acknowledge as well that it is just one company dealing with a small section of a wide, vast array of cinema, which is so vast, so almost infinite, that it is impossible for one company like Criterion to cover every single aspect of cinema like we might want it to. But it does seem to be doing the best it can with the resources that are made available to it. And so in that way, I'm looking at September, and based off of this, I am just absolutely taken aback, and I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled by this. I'm already I'm going through the Criterion releases for 2020, as you know, one at a time, and I'm going through those. But it is I'm every time I go through them, I'm just marveling at the what is Criterion's release schedule here, and this month of September in particular seems to be something very special. Again, in a year where we're getting a lot of very special releases from Criterion, this month seems, for whatever reason, seems to be something special. And it reminds me of all the great things that we have seen from Criterion thus far. And it also fills me with hope of what we can expect from Criterion and what kinds of surprises Criterion still has up its sleeves for the remaining months of this year. October, November, and December. And as you know also, these months in particular, October releases and November releases in particular, tend to be times where we get really huge, almost tentpole announcement releases. And so we should take a look at that and see what lies ahead in the coming months. But in the meantime, my friends, what we have now is, as I say, mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about September 2020. So how do you feel about this, my friends? Please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear what it is you have to say. So thank you very much, my friends, for your time. And until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Thank you so much again, my friends. And cheers.